So Dillon, do you know that actually by understanding the land cost, right, you can actually determine the future pricing of a development. So today we will touch on how can we use this information, right, to determine the future pricing to make a smarter purchase. So let's dive in.
So a bit of disclaimer, right? Whatever we share is for educational purposes. If let's say you are looking to buy or do anything, please seek professional advice, or you can actually look for us, then we can do an in-depth analysis for you. Okay. So Matthew, I want to ask you, by right, if you look into the market, right, the core central region, right, is supposedly more expensive than the rest of central region or the outside region, right?
Definitely lah. So where is this CCR, every CCR, RCR, OCR located? So by right, we can show you the map. You can see, right, the red color, right, this one, we call it the CCR, core central region, which is the trophies by Orchard, Bukit Timah.
Usually the price is very high for this kind of area.
Correct. Then after that, we follow by the CD Fringe. CD Fringe is like we call it RCR. It's like Queenstown, Kelang, Woodleigh, all these are RCR. Yeah. Followed by the OCR, the outside core central region, which is like Tampines, Jurong, or Sengkang, Punggol, for example. So usually, technically, right, the closer we are to the central, the more expensive. But right now, when we see the land bid, right, actually something is different. We see a bit opposite, right, in a way. Like the core central region price, they start to catch up in terms to the CCR and the RCR.
So if you look at the OCR, right, it seems that the prices is getting a bit high lah.
So today we just want to touch on how you can use this land bid prices to determine the movement on the market. So that today, if you are still deciding whether should I wait or should I take a look, maybe I will leave the decision up to you lah. So by understanding land cost, right, what you say, right, will help you actually make a smarter property decision. So why do I say that? So for example, right, today, right, this is a previous case study, like for Woodlands, right, actually at that point of time, 2023, right, the champion way there, right, the land bid was about 904. So one thing you must take note, right, when you read the news, right, don't just read headline. You look at deeper, right, you can see actually the analysts actually say that it will be selling around 2,000 per square foot for Woodlands. So at that time of time, maybe wow, Woodlands 2,000 a bit.
Yeah, that time considered quite high lah.
Everyone a bit shocked lah in a way lah. Wow, correct. So what happened? During the launch, right, did they really sell at 2,000? Actually, they did. And on the launch day, they actually did very good lah, about 85% sold just the first day itself. So why are we trying to sell you this? Because now we go for, like, we see the news, right, for the most recent cases, right, you can see, like, for Upper House, they bought about 1,600 per square foot. Analysts say it was reselling about 3,235. So in the end, did they happen? So same thing for the Win Tai, for the River Green, they sold about 3,130 because analysts also predicted. And for the next one, of course, everyone know, right, River Green, right, sell very well, right, first day. So the land was about 1,325. Eventually, they go for about average 3,001. So why are we trying to share with you all these case study? Because later, right, Dillon will show you, right, based on this case, right, how can we use all these news of land bid to actually determine the market movement.
So today, right, if you are, let's say you are, example, you are a buyer or anything, right, your question in your head, you will be thinking, okay, based on all this, right, what is the prices going to be like in 2026? So I give you an example on this news that came out back then. It's called Bayshore, which is quite a popular news. I think we are talking about it, right?
A lot of people will hear about it because I think Asia will
talk about this. Why? Because this Bayshore plot, right, actually sold at about 1,388 per plot ratio.
Now still the champion.
It's a champion because it's actually considered quite high for OCR. Why? The analysts say the starting price will start from 2007, average above 2008. Okay, so one thing, of course, this site, right, one thing good is that it's near MRT. Then, of course, it's going to be facing the East Coast area, the East Coast. The
so definitely will have some unit that face the sea.
Which probably the price, if let's say the higher floor having a sea view, may even go to upwards of 3,000. So this is the future prices, but this whole area is still OCR lah. Okay, then if we look at another one that is quite recent, which is the Chuan Grove, this developer actually bid 1,376, which is quite close to 1,388. Yeah, which means the minimum selling price will also be about 2,700. Then the same developer actually went to bid for a second site, same one, same developer at 1,300 also.
This is the most updated because it just came in September 4th.
Then of course there are some discussion, right? I think they are planning to
try to launch together. Yeah, then I don't know. But main thing we know that Chuan Park there will be about
2,627, 627, about there lah. So again, of course, one thing we need to take note is that why the developer have some confidence in that area, because back then if you look at Chuan Park, the average is already 2,500 already. So maybe there will be units that even hit 2,600 or 2,700.
Definitely, I think.
Right, I think the first average so which means that the prices actually has been done. So that's why maybe the developer is a bit more confident. Okay. Then another land bid, right, that we can take note of is what we call the Lakeside. Yeah, this land bid, right, is just beside Lakeside MRT. They bought it about 1,132. For Lakeside lakeside considered a bit high, and the prices wise could be around 2004 PSF. And of course, this area definitely we believe that it will sell well.
Yeah, you will have demand because I got clients already want to wait for this launch already.
Because lakeside is just beside the MRT, and then there's also schools in the area.
Correct.
So this is for the prices.
So today, imagine you are the buyer today, right? After seeing all this information, how can you use this information to your advantage? I think this is the most important thing you will ask, because if you just read the news, prices going up,
Doesn't really care. It doesn't affect you.
it doesn't affect you. But if you are looking to tap on this news to make a smarter purchase, right, maybe you can use this as a comparison, because right now you see, number one, Holland Drive land bid is about 1285. So this is CCR, right?
Yes.
So CCR usually will be more expensive. So you see, 1285. Are you sure? 138. So you have to ask yourself, is this something that we can consider? Today, Holland CCR versus Bayshore. Next, RCR, the Grand Zion 1002, the Queenstown 1154.
RCR compared to OCR, which is 1388. This one RCR is 12 at 1154.
And I think in terms of RCR, these two locations definitely better, because Zion, this one, right, is beside Havelock MRT, then one stop to River Valley.
Yes.
This one, Queenstown.
That one nothing to say.
Nothing to say, huh? Then the next two will be 900 per square foot at Faber Walk, and the 841 per square foot at De Souza Avenue. So this is OCR and De Souza is RCR. That one is known as the Upper Bukit Timah area lah. So why are we trying to tell you this? Because right now, I don't know if it's a problem or it's for me, I don't know. It's just a thing that we want to share, that we see that with the future OCR price now almost similar land price with the CCR and RCR. So is this something that we should really think about it?
Yeah, think about it. Look at it.
Yeah, correct.
So how do we actually compare based on all the news that we have? For example, Holland, again we mentioned CCI is 1285, but you see the Bayshore is already 1388, and then the Chuan Grove, right, is 1133. So this one, based on this information, CCR versus OCR, if CCR is cheaper, I mean the land price is cheaper than OCR, right, is this something that might be quite interesting to look at?
Is it something that today, I can, with the same amount of money, right, I can get something at CCR? Yeah. And this Holland Drive is not the ulu one. If you study properly, right, if you understand, right, the development is called Sky at Holland. So it's around the Holland area with amenity. It's not like ulu one.
So again, we look at another example, which is the RCR versus the OCR. This one, of course, we look at the Grand Zion, and then of course the Margaret Drive side, right? We compare it to the Lakeside 1132. Actually, you see the pricing is very similar. But again, you must take note, these two is actually very good locations, RCR locations. But this RCR location, one is Zion area, then the other one is Queenstown area.
So nothing against Lakeside. I tell you, this project confirm will sell.
Yes.
Because of the schools, of the amenities, of people who will really feel very comfortable over there. But right now, we just want to always ask this question. Like today, imagine you are a buyer today. If you pay $80 more per square foot, you are able to purchase something at Zion or maybe Queenstown. Is it something that we have to really think about it?
I think in terms of the numbers, right, more sense. Then again, another comparison, right? Of course, we have the Faber Walk, which is considered OCR. Then we have the De Souza Avenue, which is about 841, but it's considered RCR. Okay, of course, this one we also again compare to Lakeside, which is about 1,000.
So it's cheaper.
Yeah, it's cheaper.
So what I'm trying to say, let's just say we are really looking at the RCR, the both Zion, and if we cannot get something, maybe this one we can consider, because it's still cheaper from the future, but that's why our entry maybe is something that's safer. Yeah.
Right. So of course, this is the overview, right, of all the prices that's going to be expected. This whole map, right? So you see those in the box red one, is actually going to launch soon, right? So after example, if once all these sell out, right, the next launches that we can look at will be those in the green, which is for example the Bayshore that we keep talking about, the Chuan Park, and then the Lakeside, all these that we mentioned, right, and even Danyan Road, all is going to be a bit, I would say the prices are going to be a bit on the higher side. Yeah, so this is something you might want to consider, right?
So Dillon, I just ask you, so today, that is one thing I think we must ask ourselves. If all this development, right, the red one, sell very well, it will sell very well, correct? And also achieve some good price target, when they achieve some, maybe for example, they all achieve all the price, what the analysts will say, okay? The future developer that's going to launch, will they be more confident?
Definitely.
If they're confident, is it something that is good for buyers in a way?
Not really.
Not really, because developer and confident.
Whether they sell higher. So for example, if we look at this slide, right, actually what we're trying to show you, right, is the overview of the new prices that's going to happen. So those that are in red is actually going to launch soon. They're going to launch soon. Okay. Then those in green probably launch next year, 2026. Okay. So example, if let's say once all this red color launch and then sold out, or the sales get a good sales figure, right? The next launches that we're going to consider will be those in green, which is what we mentioned: Bayshore, Trump Park, Lakeside, and Dillon Road, which means all these developments, actually the prices is going to be a bit higher lah.
So Dillon, I just ask you one question. I think people will ask, if today we know that price is going to be this type of price, like in 2006, like Bayshore going to launch at 2728, right? Why not the developer, right, that is a better area, right, wait for them to launch together? We can say how expensive,
Actually, that's a very good question.
Yeah,
which is quite logical, right?
correct.
But then we need to take note of one thing. Actually, developer got a time frame. For example, if they don't sell within a certain time frame, they might have to pay the ABSD, which is quite a huge amount.
So there's a good policy in place in Singapore that is protecting the buyers so that developer won't take advantage.
Take their time to sell,
Correct.
Like I sell 10 years later, 20 years later.
Correct.
These things actually help to protect the buyers. And also another thing we need to take note is that the development need to be about 30% sold, right? Then the bank will be able to disperse the loan.
Yeah.
So for developers that decide to maybe sell later, right, they might have to use their own cash to fund the construction.
Which is very taxing.
So these are the certain constraints that developers have, which means they actually need to sell. Cannot sell too late.
Correct. So a bit, just now like what Dillon mentioned, right, the launches for all the 5 lands that is coming up, I want to let you know is the date itself, 27, 13, October, and also October. What are these trying to tell you? Actually, they are launching very closely to each other. So what does launching very close together means for buyers today?
Okay, it means when they launch together, right, they have to fight for the same pool of buyers, so they actually have to fight for the check. So this means the developer actually have a bit of competition.
Okay, so a bit of advertisement. But that one is not the most important. The most important you must look is mostly back to back. And all this create competition among developer.
Yes.
So developer is actually trying to fight for the checks for all the buyers.
Correct.
So how does this competition helps buyers today?
Okay, so for example, if we take a previous case study, this one of course I think we shared before in one of our previous videos, right? Is the Lentor area. So developer competition, when they fight for checks, can I say imagine you are a developer and you are fighting for checks, you are having all this competition, right? Would you actually price your development a bit more sensitively? I think so. I mean, most probably when Dillon launch, right, in the Lentor area, right, when they launch at the start, they launched about 2008, okay? Then the next development also launched at about 2008, which is after this development. So why they launched at around the same price? Because if you realize that area is going to be a lot of upcoming projects, which means this developer launched at 2008, they were not there to launch too high because the other buyers may be waiting for the Hillock Green, which is coming out later. So in the end, Hillock Green also launched. They launched slightly higher, also about 2009. By the end of the day, also they launched at a price that is similar to what has been already done in that area. But eventually, when of course they sell a certain number of units, right, can I say the developer actually they are becoming a bit more confident? So they actually start to sell at what kind of price? 24, 22, 23. So why am I sharing with you this? Today, imagine you are a buyer, right? Do you want to actually enter when developer is fighting for check, or do you want to enter when developer is a bit more confident?
So definitely, I think when developer is fighting for the checks or for buyers, right, definitely as a buyer today, right, we definitely want to be a position when developer is competing. Why? Because you see, just now you see, Sky at Holland is launching first, after followed by Parents all this day. Imagine Sky at Holland launch at a very high price. What will a buyer do?
Probably wait and see Paris price first.
They will probably wait. So technically, as a developer, I cannot price Sky too high. Then to attract people, for the Paris developer, right, for them to want to capture the attention for the Sky at Holland's buyer, right, what I do? They have to launch in a way that is attractive enough to pull buyer away from Sky.
Yes.
Correct or not?
So this is actually a very good situation.
It's a good situation for buyers. So that's why I think when there's developer competing, it's actually a good thing for buyers.
I totally agree. So of course, definitely, those buyers that agree, like, hey, I agree, maybe we should go for launch day, go for when the developer is competing for checks. So example, let's say, okay, maybe I decide, I'm going to go for the launch. But my question also on to ask, right, does it mean that today, if you buy any unit on launch day, right, it's actually quite safe?
Because what you see right just now, like for Lentor, right, all the launch day is 1,008, then eventually beyond 2,000 plus.
So I buy anything also okay,
But also, I ask you, Dillon, launch day also got unit that are current at 2002, 2003, what? Even there is 1,008, right, there are some high prices unit available. So doesn't mean you go launch, you definitely are very safe.
Anyhow buy is safe.
Because there are two dilemmas. Number one is you get a very good queue. What does it mean by get a good queue? Today you are the top first 10. I always tell my client, don't be the first. But I also never get before very good queue. So because going first, very scary one in the launch because you are going in very blind. You only got the starting from price, right? Then during your number one, right, you have within I think 10 minutes, maybe 10 minutes to gather as much data as possible. Like for example, what's the stack you want, the price range, correct? Then after that, when you don't know what to buy, you just buy based on your feeling already, with too little data. So buying based on feeling or the good feeling, I think sometimes there's a bit of risk involved because you cannot compare. So that's why we have these 5 steps in place during launch. We have shared for the Spring Leaf loyalty bonus video, you can take a look, but we'll touch on a bit later on. So first thing, you will go in like that. Imagine even now you got all the price, let's just say, which you don't have, you don't have. You only they'll give you a slip of paper, you write your unit number, then the person will run there, ask for the price, then come back, and then from there you see with 5 units how to compare. Right. So even now I give you this price, Dylan. You see like that. Which one will you buy?
Just based like that, a bit blur.
A bit blur because you only know the price for lower floor cheaper, then get increased by. In the shortest point of time, you can't. It's very blur one. So you see, if you like that together, you will see a problem. The low floor only got per floor jump is 0.5%. Then subsequently the 8 and 9 floor same price. So today if you are there, if you never choose the 8 or never choose the 9, you will never know the 9 and the 8 is the same price. Yeah. Then you will just buy 8. Right. Then someone at the 9th floor buy same price as you.
Definitely right. The prices once we got all the prices let's say we need to be able to analyze why this process is so important.
Yeah. Then you see from the 10 to 11 there's a 1.5% jump. Then maybe from the higher level, there was a 2.5. So developers sometimes load this type of price increase, on a certain level, they feel is more premium.
Yes.
Then from there, they start the normal progression. Yes. So we must know that which are the premium involved in the shortest amount of time. Right. Okay. So the second case will be if your queue level not so good. Usually my case. Then after that, we go a budget of 2.5 million. Then after that, enter queue about 12 PM. You reach there. So now based off 2.5 million, you saw it, you got this price list. Which one will you go? You go for the cheapest is 3206 at 2.44 million. Because this is something that I want to buy. This is my short list. If the agent is not there to let you know, of course we can, although here this is the cheapest. For example, we must find the cheapest, maybe the next jump, the low floor. Because sometimes the high floor go up too high, right? The per square foot will go skyrocketed, correct? So we must find the next jump, maybe the next bigger size you need. We see is the low floor still available or not. Yes. So for example, now at this point, the low floor is available, 03067 available. You can see from here, although it is a bit more from your budget, right? But you can see the per square foot is 2004 plus, while as this one cheapest is about 2008. Almost 400.
400 PSF difference, which honestly is quite a lot.
I never said you should buy the 0307, but we must actually at that point of time we must discuss whether you should stretch or is it something that you should consider. Yes. Not just blindly go and buy, cheapest buy. Because once you buy, then there's no backup already.
Yeah, which is important to at least information so we can actually decide.
Correct. So that's why we usually use these 5 steps to do for any launches, right? So that we are very clear. We try to minimize the process at the shortest amount of time so that we can make the best decision. For example, you can go and see the previous video. So example, we just go for for example, this set 3, right? So set 3, for example, this is Spring Leaf. Spring Leaf got 4 facing. Okay. Tennis court, near entrance, pool facing, and expressway facing. So example, today we are looking at the pool facing and the expressway facing. Then once again, I same as the video, we exaggerate a bit. Yeah. If the price difference is like the same floor, right? Same layout, 10% difference. Definitely we will go for expressway, right? Because the gap is too big. There's no point buying a more expensive pool view with a 10% a bit too high. So once we decided the expressway, right, we will actually go and follow by step 4, step 5, right, to choose a layout. Then from there, we must see the step 5, the per floor jump. Which I just show you a bit of the loading. So today, if you do not have this 5 steps, what are the chances things will happen?
So for example, if we look at Commonwealth Towers, right? Let's say we look at 30th May.
Why we choose this?
We choose this because on 30th May, actually the buyer got a few choices. So you can either choose to buy 38th floor or 3rd floor. So of course, 38th floor, definitely people will say, oh, the view better, everything, right? So you go at this price. Okay, but 3rd floor is at this price.
This one is not launch day. You can see there's 28 May. So even no launch day with all the information, you can still make some choices that will determine the future.
Yes, that it will still affect. So meaning to say, actually to buy a higher floor, there's about 250k difference. Okay, but the key thing why am I sharing with you this? If you look on 28 May, because why we use this example, because they actually sold around the same time, 2018, right? 2018 they sold. You see the 3rd floor, right, actually make about 345. The high 39th floor only make about 131, which is actually a 200k difference. So in this scenario, example, you buy low floor, you make higher than 39th floor. With a drastic difference to buy.
So Dylan, why do you think this happened?
Okay, because sometimes, right, when we buy whatever property, right, I mean, before we commit, we need to think, right, actually in the future, if we want to sell, right, who will be our buyer profile? Who is the pool of buyers we might be targeting? So for example, 1 and 2 bedders, right, usually who will buy? Investors, yeah, right, because 1 and 2 bedder, I would say mostly maybe people want to buy and then rent out and all that. So they will be looking at rental. So example, I ask you, 3rd floor rental 4k. Can 39th floor rent out at 8k? 4k more because I higher floor. And not very hard because how can be 4k just for the view? So in that case, when you look at the rental yield, the more you pay, right, your rental yield is not so ideal. So investors might look at that, right, and then realize, I should just buy the third floor. But example, if let's say you buy a 4-bedroom or 5-bedroom, then maybe a different story. You should actually go for the higher floor or the better facing. Because I would say that the buyer profile will be more looking into the feel, the view, show, and all the kind of thing.
So I would say emotional perspective.
Yeah.
So 3, 4, 5, you follow emotional perspective when you buy. But when it comes to 1 and 2 bedroom, right, more logical to purchase.
Yes, that's what I agree. Because 3, 4, 5, I would say most of the buyer want to buy for own save, for their needs. So they are more emotional in that sense. So today, right, of course, we don't look at all these things that we shared, right? It's definitely not easy. Let's say even to buy at launch or even you buy after launch, you still need to use this mindset process. It's so important. Yeah. So of course, based on all the things that we shared, right, all the examples that we shared, definitely buying a property is not so easy lah, right? There's a lot of things we must look at, whether it's let's say the new launches or even those that has already been launched already, right? You go in, you must do a bit of analysis.
I think the most important is you need to understand what are the things that you want to achieve, what are these your goals. And from there, we can actually plan out what we can do to achieve your goals lah.
Yeah. So example, okay, of course today, if let's say you're on the sidelines, you're thinking whether to enter or to what should I do, based on all this information that we share, or maybe you're looking at a development and you're wondering, should I buy, what are the units there I should consider based on my situation? Feel free to reach out to us. I'm Dillon.
I'm Matthew. We'll see you soon.